I hadn't planned to stay long at her birthday, and that lie alone told me how badly I was already failing my brother. 5 years had passed since the accident. 5 years since I stood in the rain holding my nephew's tiny hand, while the ground swallowed the only man who had ever truly believed in me. And yet, every step toward his wife's house felt like walking backward into a life I'd promised myself I would never touch again. The invitation sat in my jacket pocket like a folded confession, her handwriting unmistakable even after all this time, gentle but firm. The same way she used to ask my brother to take his medicine or remind him to lock the door. "Just cake," she'd said on the phone. "Just family. Family." That word had grown sharp edges since my brother died. Had learned how to cut in places you didn't know were exposed. I was a single dad now, by circumstance, not choice, raising my daughter on memories and routines, trying to be both parents without letting her see the cracks forming in me when nights got too quiet. She was spending the evening at her friend's house, and I told myself that was the only reason I could go, that I wouldn't have gone otherwise, that nothing about this had anything to do with the way her voice still grounded me when the world tilted. Her house looked the same as always. Porch light warm, curtains half drawn, laughter spilling out into the street like something alive. I paused at the gate, breathing in, rehearsing my smile, the polite distance I had practiced for years, the version of myself that was safe, respectful, invisible. When she opened the door, time did that cruel thing where it collapsed and expanded all at once. She was older, yes. Grief had etched itself subtly around her eyes, but there was something steadier there too, something resilient. She smiled when she saw me, not surprised, not awkward, just relieved. That was worse than any tension. Relief implied space left behind, a place I might fit, and that thought made my chest tighten. The house was full of familiar faces, cousins, neighbors, my brothers, old friends, people who still looked at me with that mixture of gratitude and expectation, as if simply being present was proof I was doing enough. Cake was cut, candles blown out, toasts made that danced carefully around absence. And through it all I felt her near me like a quiet gravity, not pulling, just existing. We talked about safe things, my daughter's school, her job, the weather's stubborn refusal to change. Every laugh felt earned and stolen at the same time. At one point she touched my arm while telling a story. Absent-minded, friendly, and my entire body reacted like it had been waiting years for permission to remember sensation. I hated myself for that. I hated how easy it would have been to let the night soften me, to forget that she was not just a woman, but a history I was sworn to protect. When the guests thinned and the plates stacked, I stood, thanked her, told her I should go. She nodded, understanding flickering across her face. But something else lived there too, resolve maybe. She walked me to the door, the house suddenly quiet in a way that pressed in on us both. That was when she said she was glad I came, that it meant more than I knew. I replied with something rehearsed, something about family, about my brother, about duty. She listened, really listened, then shook her head gently like she always used to. When my brother over-explained something obvious. "You still think everything you do has to be for him," she said softly. I felt the ground shift under that sentence. I told her it did, that it always would. She looked at me for a long moment, the kind of look that measures truth against fear. And then she smiled sadly and said, "Stay for a minute." We sat on the couch where my brother used to nap on Sundays, the space between us careful, intentional. She told me about the loneliness that doesn't scream, the kind that hums quietly in the background of your life, until you forget what silence feels like. I listened, because listening was safer than speaking. When she finally turned to me, her voice barely above a whisper, she said my name the way people do when they are about to step off a ledge. "There's something I've been carrying for years," she said, hands clenched in her lap. I started to stand, already sensing danger, already wanting to stop whatever came next. But she reached out, not touching this time, just close enough, and said, "Please." That word pinned me in place. She took a breath, eyes shining but steady, and said, "I don't see you as my late husband's brother. anymore. The room felt too small for that sentence. My mind raced to categorize it, to diffuse it, to place it somewhere safe, but it resisted. She continued, voice trembling now. I see you as the man who showed up when everyone else slowly disappeared, the man who taught my son to ride a bike, who remembered my birthday when it hurt too much to remind anyone. My chest burned. I told her she was confused, that grief does things to people, that I couldn't be what she was implying. She didn't interrupt, just waited. The way she always had when my brother needed to find his own way to the truth. I'm not asking you for anything, she said. I just couldn't let another year pass without saying it out loud. Silence swallowed us. Outside, a car passed, music thumping. Life continuing without regard for the moment, splitting me open. I stood again. This time she didn't stop me. At the door, I turned, compelled by something I couldn't name, and saw tears on her cheeks she hadn't allowed to fall in front of anyone else. Happy birthday, I said, the words useless and heavy. She smiled through the tears. As I walked into the night, every step felt like betrayal and honesty at once, and I knew with chilling certainty that nothing about my life would remain untouched after this. And if you're listening to this story right now, feeling that knot in your chest, that pull between what's right and what's real, don't walk away just yet. Subscribe to the channel, because Chapter 2 will take you straight into the moment where love, loyalty, and truth collide in ways no one is ready for. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after, or the one after that, because some words don't fade once they've been spoken. They echo, bounce, and rebuild themselves inside you until they feel like part of your own voice. Her sentence followed me everywhere. In the quiet kitchen where I packed my daughter's lunch, pretending I wasn't unraveling. In the car where the radio played songs my brother used to hum off-key. In the mirror where I barely recognized the man staring back. I told myself I had done the right thing by leaving, that restraint was proof of loyalty, that love, real love, sometimes meant choosing absence. But restraint doesn't silence feeling, it sharpens it. The days passed in a blur of routine, yet every time my phone buzzed, my heart jumped, terrified and hopeful at once. She didn't call. That somehow hurt more than if she had. When I finally returned to her house, it wasn't planned. I was dropping off something my nephew had left at my place, a small jacket still smelling faintly of her laundry detergent, and I told myself it was about the child, always the child. Because children are excellent excuses when adults are afraid of their own truth. She opened the door, looking tired but composed, grief and courage woven tightly together. For a moment we just stood there, the air between us thick with everything we hadn't said since her birthday. I handed her the jacket, mumbling something ordinary, but she didn't move to take it right away. Did I cross a line? She asked quietly. The question landed heavier than accusation ever could. I shook my head too quickly. You spoke your truth, I said. That doesn't make it wrong. She looked down, then stepped aside to let me in, and that small act felt like permission and warning all at once.